dating techniques are procedures used by scientists to determine the age of rocks. Geologists establish the age of rocks in two ways: relative and absolute dating. Today, the highlight of our discussion is about absolute dating.
So what is absolute dating? For a much more accurate method of determining the history of Earth, geologists make use of absolute dating. This method uses stable elements to determine the age of rocks and minerals.
Most absolute dates for rocks are obtained with radiometric methods. These use radioactive minerals in rocks as geological clocks. Let us first look at some important terms to help us iterate this process.
Radiometric dating, radioactive dating, or radioisotope dating is a technique which is used to date materials such as rocks. Radiometric dating relies on the fact that certain elements have what are called isotopes. Isotopes are important to geologists because each radioactive element decays at a constant rate, which is unique to that element. These rates of rocks are known, so if you can measure the proportion of a parent and a daughter isotopes now, you can calculate when the rocks were formed. Each radioactive isotope decays at a constant rate. These measurements give us something called half-life, or the amount of time it takes for half of the parent isotopes to reactively decay to daughter isotopes. These rates of rocks are known, so if you can measure the proportion of a parent and a daughter isotopes now, you can calculate when the rocks were formed. Each radioactive isotope decays at a constant rate. These measurements give us something called half-life, or the amount of time it takes for half of the parent isotopes to reactively decay to daughter isotopes.
Radioactive decay. Radioactive decay is a spontaneous breakdown of nucleus to release matter and energy.
Isotope. An isotope is one of two or more species of atoms of a chemical element with the same atomic number and position in the periodic table, and nearly identical chemical behavior but with different atomic masses and physical properties.
Most isotopes are stable, but some of them are unstable. This is because of the force that binds neutrons and protons in the nucleus of the isotopes that are not strong enough to hold them together, resulting to radioactive decay.
The unstoppable isotopes are called radioactive isotope or parent isotopes. When these parent isotopes undergo a radioactive decay, new isotopes known as daughter products are formed. The time it takes for one half of the nuclei in the sample to decay is called half-life. This amount of time is fixed for each kind of radioactive isotope, no matter what physical conditions it is subjected to. The ratio of parent-daughter isotope determines how many half-lives have passed. Each isotope is identified with what is called a mass number.
1 to 1, then 1 half-life has passed. If it is 1 to 3, then 2 half-lives have passed. If it is 1 to 7, then 3 half-lives have passed, and so on. Therefore, knowing the half-life of the radioactive isotope and its parent-daughter ratio, geologists can exactly determine the age of the sample. This method called is radiometric dating. It uses 5 radioactive isotopes to determine the age of the ancient rocks.
For dating rocks that are about a million years old, rubidium-87, thorium-232, and the 2 isotopes of uranium, uranium-238 and uranium-235, are used. The 5th radioactive isotope is potassium-40, which has half-life of 1.3 billion years old. With this, determining the accurate age of rocks became easier.
Geologists use radiocarbon to date such materials as wood and fallen rock to sediment, which indicates the date of the sediment itself. Measuring isotopes is particularly useful for dating igneous and submetamorphic rock, but not sedimentary rock.
all radiometric dating method measures isotopes in some way. Most directly measure the amount of isotopes in rocks using a mass spectrometer. Others measure the subatomic particles that are emitted as an isotope decays. Some measure the decay of isotopes more indirectly.
So for example, fission track dating measures the microscopic marks left in crystals by subatomic particles from decaying isotopes. Then another example is luminescence dating, which measures the energy from radioactive decay that is trapped inside nearby crystals.
Let's summarize it. Absolute dating is the method used in determining the exact age of a rock. Radioactive decay is a spontaneous breakdown of nucleus to release matter and energy. Isotope is two or more atoms that have the same number of protons but different number of neutrons.
Parent atom is the atom before it undergoes radioactive decay. Daughter atom is the atom after it has already undergone radioactive decay. Half-life is the amount of time it takes for half of the parent isotopes to radioactively decay to daughter isotopes. Radiometric dating is a technique which is used to date materials such as rocks. It also relies on the fact that certain elements have what are called isotopes.
That would be all for absolute dating. Thank you for watching and we hope you've learned something.